Hello everyone, my name is Lowko and welcome to my very first Stormgate cast. What I've got for you today is a best of 3 series where Mana is playing with the Infernal Host and TLO, he will be playing with the Vanguard. Now game number 1 in this series, it's played on a map called Secluded Grove. This is the very first time that we get to see a high-level match of Stormgate, plus my very first time, well, obviously casting this game as well, so I can imagine that this is going to be a very messy video. On top of that, this is the closed beta of Stormgate. As a matter of fact, just a couple of weeks ago, the game was still in early alpha. So yeah, everything you're about to see today, it will change over the course of the next couple of months and probably the next year or two. So take everything you're about to see today with a grain of salt. For example, Tier 3 units are not even in the game yet. It kind of feels to me that they cooked up this particular observer interface over the last couple of days, because like a third of the screen at the bottom is taken up by an interface that really doesn't add that much. There's no production tab, there's no supply count. Everything you're about to see will definitely change. That being said, I sometimes go back to the very first casts that I've ever seen for StarCraft 2, and I look back at them very, very fondly. It's a lot of fun to see how far the game has come, and I can imagine that, well, maybe something similar can happen as well for Stormgate at some point in the future. Alrighty, now right from the get-go, we have Mr. Mana rushing out a Brute. He decided to split his Brute into 2 Fiends that will now take damage over time. He killed his opponent's scouting unit, and he's now gonna start harassing the workers, the Bobs right here of TLO. There is a defensive ability available on the command post. That's the main structure, as he does actually end up killing one of the... Okay, there it is. There's the activated ability. That should have happened a little bit earlier right there, TLO. But anyways, he ended up killing one of his opponent's workers there, which is not a bad start at all. So, Brutes, that's definitely a unit we'll see a lot today. It's one of the basic units that the Infernals have access to, and they can essentially split themselves in 2. Now, when the Brutes split themselves in 2 and become, well, these Fiends, the Fiends slowly take damage over time. So only when they are on the Shroud, which you can see on your screen right now, is when they will be able to stay alive. But as soon as they leave Shroud, they will take, I think, 1% of their total HP per second over time. Essentially what it comes down to is that they will die if they leave the Shroud. So that's an activated ability that can indeed be used by Mana, but it's also a little bit of a risky one, because if he uses it and he doesn't get value out of his little Fiends, then, well, he's basically just sacrificed a unit and he got nothing in return. There's 2 resources in this game. So there's Luminite and then there's also Therium. Some of the Therium deposits you have access to right at the very start. Some of them you actually have to destroy. So that's what we see Mana doing right here. He's going after those Therium camps, and now he's also going after one of the creep camps that's available on the map. This is a vision camp, so this works, I guess, somewhat similar to, for example, Warcraft 3. You get a little bit of money for killing that chicken over there. The chicken also levels up, by the way, so that's something that we'll probably come back to in a moment. But Mana also picks up that vision disc, so it's gonna give him a little bit of vision, but I think he was primarily there just to make sure that there's no proxies on his side of the map, but also to get some additional money, because he is rushing a whole lot of those Brutes towards the other side of the map. And currently TLO only really seems to have a Lancer available. He's trying to rush out a bunch of those bigger tier units, so we have some supply structures for him here, but yeah, those Brutes are already going to town. Nice surround right there though by TLO. He manages to shut down one of those Brutes with relative ease. This is, I think, the Mech Lab is what it's called right here for TLO. He does produce what is called a Hedgehog. Very popular unit in the current meta of the game. So that's a fast-moving unit that can shoot those missiles incredibly rapidly. But after it shot all 4 of its missiles, it basically needs a few seconds to regenerate them. So it's very good for harassment, one of the fastest-moving units in the game for sure. Now it's what seems to be inside of the main base here of TLO, because I think that Mana may have distracted him. One Bob is valiantly trying to repair that mech bay, but the mech bay does end up going down. Nice harassment right here by Mana, trying to just slow down the opponent's economy to the best of his abilities. Vanguard though, he needs to be careful, right? So a Lancer comes out right now as well. The Lancers can actually deal some splash damage in a line. Looks like the Hedgehog actually does get repaired to full HP. One of them ultimately falls, but Mana's units have been pushed back. In the meantime, on the right side of the map, it looks like Mana has actually tried to go for a third base already. At the very least, there is a little structure right there on the minimap. I'm not observing this game myself, by the way, so if I end up missing something or if I, well, see something that isn't picked up by the observer, that's probably because of it. I've just got this video file that I'm casting this game off of. So, anyways, TLO using his extra money right now to go for a third base already. So a command post is coming up right here for the German player, although he lives in Canada these days, as we do have the Hedgehogs now scouting the top section of the map as well. One thing to note is we do have a new unit right now joining Mana's troops. He's added on, I think they're called Gaunts. Anyways, one thing to note right here for the Infernals is that whenever they leave the Shroud, the units will slowly lose what is called their white health bar. Now that kind of sounds like, I don't know, a work in progress name. I don't know if that's going to be the final name for it, as we do have a meat farm coming up here, and I think one of those as well is a, what's it called, a Shroud Stone? Something along those lines. Anyways, the secondary health bar that the Infernals have access to is absolutely awesome. When you're chilling on the Shroud, your units slowly generate a second health bar. However, when you leave the Shroud, the units will lose that over time, meaning that you really want to try and get some damage done with units when you leave the Shroud. It's a nice defensive tool, but it's also something that will cost you as soon as you leave the Shroud. So generally speaking, it seems that the Infernals work in such a way that when you leave your main base or your expansions in general, you really also want to go out into the map and get as much damage done as possible, as quickly as possible, because your units will just simply, well, lose health over time. Meat farm, by the way, set up right here for Mana. That's going to provide him a little bit of supply, which is nice, and he's really just trying to build up his economy as well as his army. TLO coming across the map once more, trying his very best to go for some higher tier units as well. One of the most popular transitions to make in the current meta, and obviously this is very early, but from what I've seen, a lot of players like to go for a Vulcan transition. So the Vulcan is the dude with the minigun. Very powerful, especially against those little dudes that the Infernals have access to. On the right side of your screen though, you can see one of the Kodos. In my mind, they're always Kodos. They really do look like them. They have a charge ability. I think they're called Magmadons. As we do, by the way, of TLO trying to steal one of the creep camps right here of his opponent. Okay, he gets the 25 right there from killing that first one, and he wants to go in for the second one too, and he gets it. Nicely done. There's the charge right there of the Magmadon. It's not quite a Kodo, but it functions relatively similarly. Yeah, the Kodos must be protected, right? He's got a Surge Smack, apparently is what it's called, and Rage Slam. Yeah, a couple different abilities. So when he charges forward, he can temporarily stun the units. Nice harassment right here, though, by TLO. Trying to go after one of the Magmadons of the opponent. And, well, we have one of them running dangerously low on health. Of course, by the way, for those Hedgehogs, that is not their finalized unit model yet. Or at the very least, I don't think it is. Maybe they've already updated it. But when I last played the game, these little buggies, yeah, they certainly did seem a little unpolished. It's a bit difficult to tell, actually, from this particular observer interface that I have right now in this video that they've sent over. Either way, big attack right now, coming across the map for Mana. He wants to try and see, okay, nice snipe right there by TLO, showing us the micro ability of these units. Anyways, big attack coming across the map right now. There's a lot of Lancers available. They obviously are also really good when it comes to harassing those smaller troops, because they do deal damage in a little line. Third base right now, though, of TLO has been spotted. Okay, there's the activated defensive ability for the Bobs once again. We have that Stimpack-like skill as well for the Lancers. Yeah, he pushes his back once again. I'm actually impressed with the back and forth so far. Like, when you look at the very first games of StarCraft 2 that I ever saw, generally speaking, it was like one base all-ins, and then one player would just sort of lose, right? Or it was players just sitting back for 20 minutes, making a death ball, and then ultimately they would manage to, yeah, just steamroll to the other side of the map. That doesn't seem to be the case when it comes to high-level Stormgate. Players are very active, they're trying to get a lot done. There's a Magmadon getting a massive charge in, but he's also now in the middle of a lot of those troops, and he does end up going down. Legibility for these fights is not my favorite. I really do hope that, yeah, they're gonna be able to improve the legibility, because when I look at these battles, it's very difficult for me, at least as a caster, to judge what's going on, and I can imagine that's similar as well. Maybe with some more experience, that'll be easier to figure out, but there's no denying that sometimes it can get very messy. Now, there's a Vulcan available, so that's what I was talking about. That guy with the Gatling gun, with that minigun, incredibly powerful. It can deal with all of those smaller troops of mana relatively easily, and that's another brute going down on the tail end of that fight. I wish we could see how many workers were actually killed there. I wish we could see a supply count as well, but considering in how much trouble TLO was earlier, he manages to hold on once again. He's certainly on the back foot here, because the amount of production from mana is absolutely tremendous, but yeah, he's only just now going for a 4th base, mana that is, right? Plus he's playing the race that seems to get rid of their units relatively quickly, so he is ready to go for another wave of units here in just a moment. There's the 4th base done right now, his 4th shrine. He will probably try and get some additional workers going there in a moment, and he actually also built, I guess, what is the Secluded Grove, right? So this map is called Secluded Grove. I guess this right over here in the center, after he knocked down some of the trees, is indeed the Secluded Grove that he's been looking for. There are multiple gold mines available there. Multiple, what do we call them? Luminite deposits? There's some Therium available too. I'm not exactly sure what we refer to them. They look like gold mines to me. Okay, I think I'm going to refer to them as gold mines. So the problem right here is that TLO will need to get something done over the course of the next couple of minutes, because his opponent is outgrowing him right now. He doesn't really have access to like tier 3 units or harassment tools in general, it seems. He's just trying to hold on. And ever since the early game, it's been mana in the driver's seat, right? So there's another Magmadon going down though. The defensive mechanics are really nice. So TLO, yeah, despite the fact that he's on the back foot here, and despite the fact that he's going up against a massive Infernal army, is really making the best of this situation. Another Magmadon will get sniped there as well. Those Lancers not messing around. So one problem you run into is these extra Shroud sets that are set up right here for mana, right? These Shroud Stones that are providing additional white HP right there for the units from the Polish player. And he's trying his very best to just, yeah, set up as much Shroud around the map as possible, because, well, then suddenly you bring that defender's advantage to your opponent's side of the map. TLO forced to back off. He really wants to break this position, but look at the minimap right now. Yeah, TLO up with his back against the wall. Mana has taken every base on his side of the map that's available, and even the one that is very aggressively positioned forward. Vulcans are dangerously low on health right here for TLO. He's been doing a good job trying to keep all of these units alive, but here comes Mana once again with a massive attack. The Bobs are going to be pulled away from their mineral, not their mineral lines, their gold lines? No, their Therium lines? No! Their Luminite lines, as we do have a massive attack right here into the natural expansion of TLO as well. A lot of Fiends just harassing that economy. And I think ultimately, Mana just has way too much stuff. TLO desperately trying to keep his units alive though, and those Vulcans, they really are putting in a lot of work. They make me excited for what like the ultimate units for the Vanguard are going to be capable of. But GG right there is called. On the left side of your screen, it's Mana who wins game number 1. Alrighty, game number 2. We find ourselves on Secluded Grove. This map, it reminds me a little bit of Scrap Station. I don't know if there's any StarCraft boomers watching this video, but it reminds me of one of the early StarCraft maps called Scrap Station. Basically, in order to go across the map, with your ground units at the very least, you have to go in like, how do you say this? It's like a U shape, almost like a horseshoe shape, you know? So it's bottom right going up against top left, TLO at the bottom, Mana at the top. But in order to go all the way to the opponent's side of the map by foot, you essentially have to march your units across. By the way, this right here on the screen right now is called a siege camp. Very interesting mechanic, so it reminds me a lot of Heroes of the Storm. Basically what you do is you kill those units, right? And you get a little catapult that joins your attack. It's something that can definitely be used to siege your opponents, and it's a cool mechanic for sure. Albeit one that I can imagine is going to be very difficult to balance over time as well. Once again though, both players opening up with a fast expansion. Is he going to split his unit into 2 once again? So yeah, I think what TLO is trying to do is get the last hit in on that resource camp. It's not going to happen here. But stealing those 40 resources from your opponent would be incredibly nice. Alright, the dog right now runs around. In the previous game, I was going to say, Mana decided to split his unit right there into 2 little fiends. He does decide to do that once again. So Mana clearly has got a bit of a build order though, right? going for the fast brute, going for the resource camp, using the money there to expand, and then splitting his brute into two to try and deny the scout of his opponent. Like, this looks like a pretty, yeah, rehearsed strategy here from Mana. The dogs right now going towards the bottom here, towards the middle of the map. Where exactly are those? Or not the dogs, rather, the fiends. Not exactly sure where they are going. There are, of course, flying units in this game, too. I'm forgetting the name of them right now. Oh, you can go across the map like that? Sorry, I'm just looking at the fiends on the mini-map. I didn't even know you could go across the map like that. Okay, so you don't have to take the full horseshoe approach. This is slightly faster, it seems, although not by much. These units left a while ago, and you can see they left with, like, pretty much full HP, and now, well, they're already about halfway dead, just because they, just because they take damage over time. Yeah, TLO doesn't want to activate the defensive ability, because he doesn't know if he's going to need it here momentarily. That one Bob does finish the job. Maybe that's why they're called Bobs, because they can finish jobs. I'm not sure. The BOBs. What do you think BOB stands for? I have no idea. Couple Iron Vaults available here already for Mr. Mana, as we do have a mech bay coming up once again for TLO. So TLO also has a strategy here that he likes to play. Yeah. So he's essentially going for a fast expense, scouts the opponent, makes sure that it's safe to do so, and I think he's once again going to be rushing out some hedgehogs. There's a big troop of these fiends coming across the map as well, though, so Mana early splitting them. I wonder if that's the best strategy. So he splits the brutes in two. He could do that, like basically what he could do is send the unit across the map and then split the brute after it took a significant amount of damage, right? Like that's obviously, yeah, an option. I guess he doesn't want to do that because the brutes are significantly slower than the fiends. But it's honestly a little hard to say. It looks like another one of the Bobs may just go down. Yeah, there we go. Ultimately, one does fall. Third base here does get scouted. But again, this came at the cost of a whole lot of brutes. And I don't think Mana is quite getting his money's worth out of these units. Like, he's killed a dog right now. And I guess he's going after a resource camp. But he's really just helping out. He's really just helping out TLO here. Helping TLO soften that up a little. The fact that TLO didn't take the resource camp, though, is also an indicator that his strategy is not quite as fleshed out. You see what I mean? Like, that should have already been down, I think, a little while ago. Anyhow, brutes. Oh, they can't fit. That's why he's activating it. Ah, that's cool. So there's some trees available there, and the brutes can't fit through it. So the only way to go... That's why I didn't know about that attack path. I've been moving around some very slow units in this game. I see, so small units can fit between the trees, and obviously you can kill the trees with later tier units, like for example those Magmadons, like for example those, what are they called, Vulcans? Yeah, they have abilities to clear out the trees, but looks like another Bob ends up going down here. Oh, good surround as well, lovely work here by Mana. Yeah, those hedgehogs, they were sleeping on the job, moving towards the bottom left-hand corner, and, well, they certainly ended up getting some value this time around. Okay, we have some brutes over here as well at the bottom of the map. Once again, that defensive ability activated. Nice control right there by TLO. You know, you can argue that a lot of the things in this game are not quite finalized just yet, right? Like unit legibility, I am not a massive fan of, but it is really nice to see how microable a lot of these troops are. Ooh, nice activation right there by Mana. If you don't manually activate it, by the way, you actually end up losing. Yeah, you get nothing in return. And he actually does take the vision camp there too. TLO decides to snipe it, but the micro ability and how smooth the game's response is very promising to me. There's definitely some stuff they can do too, especially like mirror matchups. If it's like Infernal versus Infernal, it becomes very tricky to say like whose units are whose. Obviously, they could maybe change some of like the default zoom in on some of this too, especially if we don't have like a quarter of the screen taken up by that bottom bar. That doesn't really add that much. There's still a lot they can do for sure to improve the legibility of the game. And yeah, so far I think it's off to a promising start. I don't want to like get, you know, too excited either, because there have been some good RTS games, or at least some decently promising RTS games over the years, and then they kind of just fizzle out. I really hope that this game turns out to be, yeah, the real deal, you know? Like, I think pretty much every RTS fan out there is is pretty desperate for a new strategy game, or maybe for Blizzard to just do something StarCraft 2 related again. That would be really nice. Maybe now that Activision Blizzard King has been bought by Microsoft, maybe there's a chance that we're gonna see some of that again, but anyhow, doesn't seem to be the case. So this is definitely the most promising RTS game that we've had over the last couple of years. And yeah, also made by a very promising team. Anyways, we do have Mana right now going after that siege camp that I was talking about. Aggressive push right here as well from TLO though, trying to go after one of these outposts that Mana has established out on the map. Looks like a couple of the imps go down, but there's the catapult I was talking about. Certainly not a finalized skin on that unit just yet. That catapult is going to be very handy, but also something that Mana can, yeah, make use of for now. But he needs to be careful, right? Because at this point, he's taking quite a bit of damage right here at home. Yeah, look at that unit. It's just orange. Certainly not the final model just yet. If you're, by the way, interested in supporting the Stormgate, what's it called? Kickstarter. I'll go ahead and post an affiliate link to their Kickstarter down below. Easy way to support them. Easy way to support me in the process too. One thing I really like about these catapults is that you can actually see the projected location for their shot. So you can actually micro against it. It takes quite a while before that thing lands. So you actually have some counterplay available. And I think it actually also deals friendly fire, if I'm not mistaken. Although don't quote me on that. It looks at the very least like oftentimes it does deal friendly fire. So nice back and forth right here by TLO. Trying to stay out of range. Okay, good activation there as well by Mana. Making sure that his brutes are not going to go down without a fight. But you know what? I think TLO is pretty happy with just forcing all of these units to transform like that. I'm like pleasantly surprised with how good this game looks considering it's closed beta. You know what I mean? Like, this is by no means the final version of the game. It should only get better from here. And if this is the first time, and we have Spriggan, by the way, that's the flying unit, sort of like Mutalisks here, available for the Infernals. But this is the first time we get to see the game. If you compare this to what StarCraft 2 in its very earliest stages was like, it's not even close, man. It's really quite exciting. Anyways, a lot of damage here being done. Are there units available right now for Mr. TLO to get rid of those Spriggans? Because he doesn't seem to have a lot of anti-air available. He could make some exos. Yeah, they're coming out right now. You can see them right there peeking out on the right side of the screen. He's gonna need them to get rid of these Spriggans, because otherwise the Spriggans will be able to kill all of the Lancers with relative ease. He's also, what are they called? Medtechs? I think that's what they're called. That's those healing guys. They kind of remind me of those, what are their dogs called? Those really massive dogs that help out in the mountains and stuff. I don't know the names. St. Bernards? Is that what they're called? I don't know what their name is. But anyways, they kind of remind me of that. Whenever I see those medtechs running around. I think they're probably inspired by it. Anyways, yeah, they can heal up the troops here, which is very handy. And TLO pushes it back. But look at the back and forth, right? Now imagine this with slightly better unit legibility. Maybe some better maps, good observer interfaces. Maybe a third race? That would be really, really cool. I like what the development team has in store for this game and the way they seem to be approaching it with a very community-focused, just a very community-focused approach. And it's nice to see that there are still a lot of people out there that are passionate about real-time strategy, my favorite genre, and it's clear that this team has a lot of skills. Like, this has only been in development for like, what, 3 years maybe? Yeah, let's see where it's at in like another year from now. Magmadon right there ends up getting sniped by TLO. I am hesitantly positive. Is that a good way to describe it? I'm cautiously optimistic. Oh my god, Mana decides to activate all of his brutes right there and he sends them in. Send in the skeletons, man. I don't know if that is the right choice. Yeah, I actually quite like this micro here from TLO. Pushes himself into the tree line. Mana comes charging forward, though, with the Magmadon, and he stomps the ground as well. So TLO tried, reducing the surface area on his units by getting stuck in this corner of the map. But then, well, it almost seemed like Mana was trying to get his opponent to do that because he charged in with that Magmadon, and that Magmadon got an insane amount of damage done. Lovely work right there by Mana, and really by both players. I like what TLO was doing, but it was clear that Mana was one strategic step ahead of his opponent. Very cool. In the meantime, by the way, the entire bottom section of the map has been acquired by Mr. TLO. At the same time, well, the same thing has happened up north. There are still some bases that are acquirable on the right side of the map. Doombringer, by the way, available right now as well for Mana as he's continuing the harassment. So this is a Harbinger here, and it's basically going to allow him some offensive shroud. So he's going to be able to get that I feel like that's going to be a very difficult mechanic to balance, by the way. Like that shroud and that second health bar. I don't know if it's going to be in the final version of this game. I can imagine that's going to be very tough to balance because these units are now effectively regenerating in fight. Like the defender's mechanic has come to the other side of the map. Obviously the defender's mechanic right here for TLO is quite significant as well though. Vanguard's pushing back once again. Obviously on top of that we have a Weaver joining in too. I don't even really know exactly what that unit does. It just looks really cool. I think it's a detector and it stomps on units with a bit of a distance. Yeah, it got a lot of armor. It detects stealthed units. What else did it does? Or does it do, Mr. Observer? High sight. Oh, I think it can see up and down cliffs. Something along those lines. I know they're expensive, so they're probably worth their money somehow, some way, but that's going to require a little bit more experimentation on my end. Either way, aggressive push right here from Mana does continue, but it looks like TLO is doing a decent job pushing all of this back. Okay, a lot of those fiends going towards the right side. Now a Vulcan is available. Yeah, it seems like the Vulcans really are the key, as we do have a Magmadon charging in as well. Oh, yeah, that's what it does. It's almost like a Viper's harpoon ability. I think that Weaver has the ability to pull the Vulcan towards itself. So essentially the units get, yeah, pulled in the direction of that Infernal Host army. Again, a little bit of a legibility issue, although maybe some of that is also due to the bitrate here. The bitrate does not quite look as good as it could be, so the screen is maybe slightly more blurry than what it will actually look like when the game is finalized, or at least what it looks like in the closed beta when I play it on my own screen, but yeah, a lot of these small moving units, they tend to like blur together a little bit, right? And with multiple health bars and stuff, it gets very messy. Anyways, Magmadon moving forward, trying its very best. Goes after the static defense, shuts it down easy. Bobs right now with the defensive ability there from that command post. Getting a whole lot of work done. Vulcans sliding around the screen to the best of their abilities as well. And look at this, man. This is sick, no? Like, if this is closed beta, seriously. I am pleasantly surprised. Like when they announced this show match, I was like, yeah, that's gonna be 8 minutes, 2-0 victory. One big attack, one player messes up, that's GG. Not the case. Not the case at all. This is a back and forth, and I think ultimately Mana is the better player here because he's expanding behind this as well. Plus on top of that, of course, Mana is an active StarCraft 2 pro gamer, whereas TLO, he runs the Shopify Rebellion these days. Not to say that TLO isn't good at the game anymore, but there's no denying that, you know, practice makes perfect. GG is called, and it's indeed Mana who obtains the victory. 2-0. There he is, the man himself, winner of our very first show match. Hey, let me know down below in the comment section of this video what your thoughts are on the game so far. Do you like it? Do you not like it? It would be nice if you could maybe give a little bit of feedback to the Frost Giant team as well, because I can imagine they're going to be reading your comments. Anyways, if you enjoyed watching this video, hit the like button down below. If you didn't like it, I guess you're allowed to hit the dislike button guilt-free. For now, though, have a great rest of your day. Don't forget to smile, and I hope to see you once again tomorrow for another video.